Hey everyone. Today's story? Yeah, this one isn't just revenge. This is what happens when someone underestimates the quiet one, the one who never argues, never flexes, never needs to prove anything. Because sometimes, the person you think is the weakest in the room is just the one who hasn't decided to end you yet. Let me tell you about Elena. She's 30, soft-spoken, calm, the type of woman people talk over in conversations, the kind of woman people assume doesn't have power. And that assumption, that was their biggest mistake. Because what her husband and his family didn't know was that Elena wasn't just some wife. She was the reason their entire lifestyle even existed. And one freezing December night, they made a decision that cost them everything. My name is Elena Carter, and last Christmas, my husband locked me out of his family's mansion while it was snowing. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, physically. I stood outside that house for 12 minutes. I remember because I counted. Each minute felt like it had weight, like it was pressing down on my chest. The wind cut through my coat like it wasn't even there. My fingers went numb first, then my face, then that quiet, slow kind of cold that doesn't hurt anymore. It just settles into your bones. And inside, music, laughter, glasses clinking. They were celebrating Christmas, while I was standing outside like I didn't belong. Because according to my husband's mother, I didn't. I didn't fit the image. Those were her exact words. Not dramatic, not emotional, just cold, like she was commenting on a piece of furniture that didn't match the room. And my husband? He didn't come to the door. He didn't argue, didn't defend me. He sent a text. "Hey, Mom thinks it's better if you sit this one out. Just grab a hotel. We'll talk tomorrow." We'll talk tomorrow. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I was shocked, but because something inside me just went quiet. You know that moment when something finally clicks? When all the excuses you've been making for someone just stop making sense? Yeah, that moment. I didn't cry, didn't knock, didn't beg. I just turned around, walked back to my car, and left. Because here's the thing about me. I don't react. I remember. 30 minutes later, I checked into a cheap roadside motel, the kind with flickering lights and a heater that sounds like it's about to give up on life. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing my coat, hands wrapped around a cup of bad coffee. And for the first time that night, I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I finally understood something clearly. They thought they had power. They thought they could decide who belonged and who didn't. But what they didn't know was that the house they were celebrating in wasn't theirs anymore. It hadn't been for months. See, 8 months before that night, everything had already started falling apart. Not for me, for them. My husband's family lived like they were old money. Big house, luxury cars, club membership, the whole aesthetic. But here's the truth about people who try that hard to look rich. They usually aren't. They were drowning in debt. Loans stacked on loans, credit cards maxed out, mortgage payments months behind. And when everything finally started collapsing, my husband came to me. Not as the confident guy everyone else saw, but desperate, panicked, begging. He sat on my kitchen floor, crying, telling me his family was about to lose everything. The house, their reputation, their status. And he promised me everything, that things would change, that his mother would respect me, that I would finally be treated like family. All I had to do was help them. Now, a lot of people would have written a check, transferred money, saved the day. But I don't do emotional decisions. I do strategic ones. So instead, I bought their debt, quietly, legally, completely, through a private holding company under my maiden name. They never knew. To them, it looked like some anonymous investor saved their house. They signed the papers without even reading them properly. And just like that, they went from homeowners to tenants. My tenants. Fast forward to Christmas Eve. The same people living under a roof I owned locked me out of it. That irony? Yeah, I let it sit with me for a minute. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up the contract, every clause, every condition, and there it was, clear as day. Default triggers, payment violations, breach terms. They weren't just rude, they were already in violation. And that little stunt, locking me out, that was the final piece I needed. The next morning, I didn't call my husband, didn't text, didn't argue. I called my attorney. Because revenge isn't loud, it's precise. And I wasn't interested in hurting their feelings. I was interested in ending their illusion completely. But here's where it gets messy. Because that same morning, I checked our joint account. And guess what? $5,000 gone. Transferred at 1:12 a.m. While I was sitting in a freezing motel room, he was inside that warm house, taking money from me. That's when it stopped being personal and became business, cold business. And trust me, I'm very good at business. That was the moment I decided I wasn't just walking away. I was going to make sure they never forgot who I was. And the craziest part, they still thought I was weak, still thought I'd come back, apologize, try to fix things. They had no idea they had just declared war on the wrong woman. And 1 week later, on New Year's Eve, while they were hosting the most important party of their lives, trying to impress investors, politicians, high society, they heard a knock at the door, not a polite one, the kind that echoes, heavy, official, final. And standing on the other side was someone holding papers with my name on them. That's when everything started to fall apart. And trust me, that was just the beginning. All right, here's where everything tightens. Part 1 was the setup. Part 2, this is where the mask starts slipping and the damage becomes public. Same tone, same slow burn energy. Let's go. New Year's Eve. If you had driven down that quiet Virginia street that night, you would have thought nothing was wrong. The house was glowing. Every window lit up like something out of a magazine, warm golden light spilling onto the snow, luxury cars lined along the curb, valet at the driveway, soft jazz floating into the cold air every time the front door opened. It looked perfect. That's the thing about fake lives. They photograph beautifully. Inside, the place was packed. Men in tailored suits, women in designer gowns, champagne flowing like it was water, conversations layered with fake laughs and calculated networking. This wasn't just a party, this was a performance. Julian needed investors. His startup was hanging by a thread. And tonight was his big pitch. He was moving through the crowd like he owned the world, shaking hands, smiling, selling dreams. You'd never guess he was one step away from financial collapse. Patricia, she was in her element, floating from group to group like she was royalty, complimenting outfits, dropping names, controlling the narrative. If confidence alone could build wealth, she would have been untouchable. And Harper? Phone in hand, of course, filming everything, posting nonstop. Family goals, new year, new blessings, grateful for everything we've built. Yeah, built. Meanwhile, I was standing outside again. Same house, different night. But this time, I wasn't cold. I wasn't waiting, and I definitely wasn't asking for permission. I stepped out of my car slowly, adjusted the sleeve of my coat, and looked at that house one more time. Not with emotion, with ownership. Then I walked to the front door and let myself in. No one noticed at first. That's the funny part. When people don't respect you, they don't really see you either. I moved through the crowd quietly, soft steps, calm face, like I belonged, because I did. But eventually, someone saw me, and of course, it was Patricia. Her smile dropped instantly, like a switch. "Oh my God," she muttered under her breath, already walking toward me. Not confused, not surprised, annoyed, like I was a problem that needed to be removed. "Elena," she said, voice tight, controlled. "What are you doing here?" No greeting, no warmth, just pure irritation. I met her eyes calmly. "I live here," I said. She laughed. Actually laughed. Short, sharp, dismissive. "No, you don't. And you were told very clearly that tonight is not appropriate for you." Behind her, I could already see people watching, whispers starting, curiosity building. Perfect. "I just came to talk," I said, voice steady. "You need to leave right now. Don't embarrass yourself." Embarrass myself. That word again. I almost smiled. But before I could respond, Julian showed up. Of course he did, drawn by tension like always. "Elena?" he said, confused. "What are you doing here?" Same question, different tone, less authority, more panic. I looked at him, really looked at him for the first time in a long time, and for a second, I saw it. The cracks, the stress behind the smile, the fear he was trying to hide. Good. "You took $5,000 from our account. Right there, in the middle of the room. No buildup, no warning. The effect, immediate. The air shifted. People stopped talking. Julian froze. This isn't the place for this," he muttered quickly, glancing around. "Exactly. That's why I chose it. You didn't call me, didn't check if I was okay, but you logged in and transferred money at 1 a.m. Now people were definitely listening. Patricia stepped in immediately. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "You're making a scene over nothing." "Nothing." I nodded slowly, then reached into my bag, tapped once, and turned the screen toward Julian. Transaction details, timestamp, account trace. Cold, clear, undeniable. His face, yeah? That changed. Fast. "Elena, we can talk about this privately," he said, lowering his voice. "No," I said, simply. Not loud, not aggressive, just final. "We're going to talk about it here." You could feel the room tightening, that quiet tension when people realize something real is happening, not just drama, but something deeper. Julian ran a hand through his hair. "It was temporary," he said quickly. "I needed liquidity. I was going to replace it." "With what?" I asked. Silence. And there it was. That moment, the one where truth starts leaking through the cracks. Patricia tried again. "This is exactly why you don't belong in this family," she said, louder now. "You don't understand how things work." I turned to her slowly. "No," I said, "you don't understand how things work." That hit. You could see it, that flicker of confusion, because for the first time, I wasn't playing my role. Across the room, Harper was already recording. Of course she was. Phone up, camera pointed, whispering commentary to her followers. "Guys, this is insane. She literally showed up uninvited and is causing drama." I ignored her, for now, because my focus was Julian. "You didn't just take money," I said. "You moved it into an account I don't have access to." His eyes widened slightly. "Yeah, I knew." "And that account?" I continued. "It's linked to your business expenses." Now the whispers got louder, because suddenly, this wasn't just a relationship issue. This was financial, professional, serious. "Julian," he started. "No," I cut him off. Again, calm, always calm. "You used shared funds to support a company that doesn't generate revenue." That landed harder than anything else, because now people were connecting dots. The successful startup, the expensive lifestyle, the inconsistencies. And just like that, the illusion started to wobble. Julian looked around, desperate, trying to regain control. "This is a misunderstanding," he said to the room. "Everything is fine. We're doing great." "Then show them," I said. Silence. "Show them the financials." He didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe, because he couldn't, and we both knew it. That's when I realized something. I didn't need to raise my voice, didn't need to expose everything, because the truth, it was already doing the work. All I had to do was let it breathe. But I wasn't done, not even close, because what they still didn't understand, what none of them understood yet, was that this wasn't just about money, or betrayal, or respect. This was about ownership, real ownership. And in a few minutes, they were all going to find out exactly what that meant. I glanced at the clock, 11:39 p.m., almost time. I looked back at Julian, at Patricia, at Harper still filming like this was content, and for the first time that night, I smiled. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because I knew something they didn't, something that was already on its way, something that was going to walk through that front door and change everything. And right on cue, there it was, that sound, a knock, heavy, sharp, official, the kind that doesn't ask to come in. The room went silent, completely. Julian turned toward the door, confused. Patricia frowned, annoyed. Harper kept filming. Of course she did. And me? I didn't move, didn't react, just watched, because I knew exactly who was standing on the other side. And trust me, they were not ready for it.
All right, this is the final piece. No more build-up, no more waiting. This is where everything breaks. The knock echoed again, louder this time. Not polite, not hesitant, authoritative. The kind of knock that doesn't belong at a party. The kind that ends things. The room froze. Music off. Conversations dead. Even the glasses stopped clinking. Julian looked at his mother. Patricia looked irritated, like this was an inconvenience she could fix with the right tone. "Probably security," she muttered. already walking toward the door. Still confident, still thinking she had control. That was almost impressive. She opened the door halfway, and then she stopped, completely. Her posture stiffened, her hand tightened on the handle, because standing on the other side wasn't security. 2 uniformed deputies and a man in a dark coat holding a thick folder. No smiles, no small talk, just purpose. "Good evening," one of the deputies said, calm and direct. "We're here to serve legal notice." That's it. 1 sentence, and you could literally feel the temperature in the room drop. Patricia blinked. Once. Twice. "I think you have the wrong address," she said, voice tight but still trying to sound composed. "We don't," the man with the folder replied. Then he stepped forward, past her, into the house. And that's when people started moving, not toward the door, away from it. Instinct, like everyone suddenly understood something serious was happening, even if they didn't know what. Julian stepped forward quickly. "What is this?" he demanded. "What's going on?" The man opened the folder, pulled out a set of documents, and said it clearly enough for everyone to hear. Notice of eviction, immediate enforcement due to breach of contract. Silence. Pure silence. Julian actually laughed, a short, nervous, disbelieving laugh. "This is a joke, right? There's no way. This is my house." My house. That word hung in the air. And that's when I finally stepped forward, slowly, calmly, no rush, because this moment, this was mine. "It's not your house," I said, not loud, but clear enough that everyone heard it. Julian turned toward me, confused, annoyed, then uncertain. "What are you talking about?" he said. I held his gaze. 8 months ago, your family defaulted on the mortgage. The bank sold the debt. Patricia's face changed, just slightly. A flicker. Recognition. Fear. "You remember that, don't you?" I continued. No one moved. No one spoke. "They told you an investor stepped in, gave you a chance to stay." Julian's breathing slowed, like his body was trying to catch up to something his mind didn't want to accept. "Yeah," he said carefully. "So?" I took one more step forward, close enough now that there was no distance left to hide behind. "I'm the investor." That moment, you could hear it. Not a sound, but the shift, like reality itself just cracked open. Julian stared at me, not blinking, not reacting, just processing. Patricia shook her head immediately. "No," she said, "that's not possible." I didn't argue, didn't need to. I just looked at the man holding the folder. He stepped forward again, opened it, turned it toward them. Ownership documents, signatures, company records, my name, my maiden name, right there, black and white, legal, final, absolute. Patricia's hand went to her chest, like she couldn't breathe properly. Julian took a step back, then another. This doesn't make sense," he said. Why didn't you say anything?" And that question, that was almost funny. Because you never asked. Simple, true, brutal. Behind us, people were already leaving.
Quietly. No goodbyes, no conversations, just exit. Because nobody wants to be standing inside a moment like this. A collapse. A real one. Harper, still holding her phone, still recording, but her confidence? Gone. What is this? She whispered, more to herself than anyone else. I turned toward her slowly. You wanted content, right? I said. Make sure you get this part. Her hand started shaking, just slightly, but enough. Julian stepped closer again, desperate now. Elena, listen, we can fix this, he said quickly. Whatever this is, we can work it out. There it was, that shift, from arrogance to negotiation. Too late. Fix what? I asked. He didn't answer, because there was nothing to fix. This wasn't a mistake. This was a consequence. The deputy stepped forward again. Sir, you'll need to vacate the property, he said. You've been in breach of contract. You were notified. Julian looked at him like he was speaking another language. This is insane, he muttered, but even he didn't believe that anymore. Patricia finally spoke again, her voice different now, quieter, colder. You planned this, she said, not a question, a realization. I met her eyes. Yes, I said, no hesitation, no apology. Because I did. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because I was done being invisible in a life I was funding, done being disrespected in a space I owned, done being treated like I didn't belong in something that existed because of me. The room was almost empty now, just us, the deputies, and the truth, standing there, heavy, undeniable. Julian sat down slowly, like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. Hands on his head, everything gone. The house, the image, the illusion. All of it. Harper dropped her phone, didn't even try to pick it up, didn't care about the recording anymore. For the first time, she wasn't performing. Patricia stood still, completely still, like a statue, but you could see it in her eyes, that realization that everything she built her identity on was never really hers. And me? I just stood there, quiet, calm, exactly the same way I stood outside that house a week ago, only this time I wasn't the one being left out. I walked toward the door slowly, paused for a second, then turned back. Not dramatic, not emotional, just honest. You said you didn't fit your family aesthetic, I told Patricia. Her eyes met mine, sharp, broken, real. I agree, I said. Then I opened the door and walked out. No yelling, no chaos, no dramatic exit, just silence. Because the loudest endings don't need noise. Some people think revenge is about hurting someone, making them feel what you felt, breaking them the way they broke you. But it's not. Not really. Real power is walking away after you've taken back everything they thought they had over you, without raising your voice, without losing control, without becoming them. A week later, the house was empty. Lights off, driveway clear, just another property. just another asset. And me? I went back to my life, my work, my peace. Because I didn't lose anything that night. I just stopped pretending. So yeah, if there's one thing you take from this story, let it be this. Never underestimate the quiet one. Because while you're busy talking, they're busy calculating. And when they finally move, it's already over.
Cheers to that. And to us.